All right, so you've found the Two Dads Review podcast. Welcome. If this is your first time, hang on. It's going to be the episode 9 recap and review of Westworld. We are pretty excited to talk about it. It was an episode that gave us a lot of information.
You didn't even need to watch it. Like, you could have just listened to this. Like, this episode...
This is going to end up being me reading all of the lines they say.
Yeah,
or me reading them to you and I, and then dubbing them over when I do post.
There you go. Like, this would have been a better audiobook episode.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there wasn't a lot you had to see. More of it just listening.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, there was a couple shootouts and them walking through the park again. But it was one of those episodes where it was like, we gave you this other episode last week that just was kind of some weird story. Yeah, you know, to explain the Ghost Nation. And then they were like, now we're going to tell you all the shit you've been paying attention to right now. Like,
right. While giving you another backstory. Mm-hmm. It was, a little more pertinent to the main plot. But yeah, it was good. So hang on, stay tuned. We're going to roll into that real quick. If you didn't find us at twodadsreview.com, you can head over there and find links to all of our previous episodes. You can also find links to other great places to listen to the podcast: Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Public Radio. And as always, you can head over to the YouTube page, youtube.com/twodadsreview, and hear the podcast there as well. Wherever you listen to us, wherever you like to listen to us, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification button for sure, because, I mean, hell, you just got episode 7 and 8 dropped like 4 days ago, so it is definitely not a normal occurrence. So enjoy. Thank you for tuning in. This is your first time. If you are coming back after numerous listens to all of our past stuff, thank you. We couldn't do this without you, but we still would. So we'd be lying if we say we couldn't do it without you. So thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, I mean, we would do it anyways. We don't need any of you.
And it is me. It is me, Clay, here today as usual, and I have Corey back at the table, same room, not having to merge two audio files. It makes my day after so much better.
Yeah, well, I don't got a lot of shit going on, so I figured I'd just come over.
It's just easier this way. So before we go to episode 9, Kevin and I, our guest Kevin last week, we mentioned real quick there was a shakeup in the Star Trek Discovery world, the Star Trek world in general. If you didn't listen, Corey and I did a full recap and review of each episode of Star Trek Discovery when it aired earlier this year. I'm kind of a big fan. Corey's getting there. He didn't hate it, which is
no.
good.
I mean, it was a good show. Like, I'll never be like fucking full on nerd Trekkie shit. Like, and it's cool. Like, I mean, I think the people that like get into it like that are pretty like interesting. Like, like talking to you, and all of a sudden you're like, dude, did you hear about that fucking blue space dart thing? And like a fucking 9-hour tangent. And I'm like, where? Like, where did you read? Like, how did you get all this info?
I wish there was something I knew that was with that detail with just one phrase, and then all of a sudden you're on an 8-minute tirade about what that means.
Yeah, dude, like, I can't think of anything that I've ever I don't want to use like invested or loved, or I mean,
it's both.
But it's like, I have never been struck by anything anybody else has created like that to where I'm like, oh, you're speaking to me. Like, I'm like, oh, that's like a cool show, like, and I'm even trying to think of like old stuff that I watched, like when I was a kid, or stuff that just, and even like, I think of it now and I'm like, no, maybe TV was just like, never my like genre of like data intake, like, I mean, I play a lot of video games, but even video games, I just like the motion. Like, I like just playing a game. Like,
right.
There's dudes that get in there like, man, there's like this crazy backstory. I'm like, dude, next, let's skip cutscene. I don't care, whatever, man. Like, let's just play the game.
Well, you weren't raised in a TV as a devil house, were you?
No.
I was.
yeah. Like, I mean, Exorcist is probably the closest thing that I got to where I was like, fuck yeah. That's why I was super excited when the Exorcist TV show came out, because I was like, cool, something that's demonic and heavenly and a big what if. Like, I find that kind of stuff interesting. Like, you put on the History Channel and it's like conspiracies of Satan. I'm like, dude, I will be here for hours. Like, I'm not leaving, man. You got my attention.
Well, that brings something up. This isn't what we're going to talk about, but I wanted to bring this up. So, sadly, Exorcist got canceled last year, or it wasn't even on this season. So it was I think it was the end
I think it was a
season.
summer show, and it was one of those shows.
It would have come back now.
Yeah, and they were like, "Nah, we're just not doing it."
So it got canceled a while back, but Lucifer got canceled. But did you hear about this?
Yeah, because it got picked up by Netflix.
Netflix picked it up, so we're gonna get a season 4. So it's like it was weird because they had their finale episode, which was definitely a finale episode. But then all of a sudden there were these two weird it was like these 2 shows back to back, 2 episodes back to back that aired after that. And I was like, what, on my DVR, I was like, what is this? And like it was shows they had filmed for season 3, and it didn't fit in the time. It didn't fit the way they wanted to. They were just going to. It was like a bottle episode that didn't do a whole lot with the plot.
Yeah, I remember.
And they just threw it out there. So I was like, well, I better save these. I may would have just watched me some Lucifer down the road when I don't have any, but now they'll just be probably put in for episode or for season 4 now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how they do stuff like that. They're, like, oh, we got the axe, so like all the writers are like, all right, man, like let's not have a Life of Mars, like let's write something that.
Oh no, because this was their finale was a cliffhanger. Like she saw his face for the first time. Like that's what we've been waiting for 3 fucking seasons. Like just show him your face. It'll be all right there. She won't not believe anymore.
Right.
So these were just 2 episodes that would have fit anywhere into season 3 because it didn't touch their overarching plot with Cain and all that stuff. And it was like they just threw. They're like, well, we have these. Here you go, fans. Since they're fucking firing, they're killing us all with it. But so Netflix picked it up. So hopefully Netflix is like, we got 2 in the bag. Next we got 2 we can throw out already. So that's good to hear. So anyways, we mentioned last week that the showrunners Gretchen Berg and Aaron Harbich, who were the head writers and producers, I believe, if not head, but definitely up top of the Discovery team, got fired, and Alex Kurtzman got put in their place. Kurtzman he's done stuff for all the Star Trek movies, the ones that have come out, and a few other notable features. Things came to light this week that he, in all of his talks with CBS, has now been greenlit 5 other Star Trek themed shows, miniseries, animation style programming. So the list of 5 that we have so far, it sounds like it's just like the gambit of all this stuff. And I have a theory as to what they're doing and why they're doing it at the end of this. So the first one is a teen oriented series set at Starfleet Academy from Stephanie Savage and Josh Schwartz, the duo behind the recent Dynasty reboot and Marvel's Runaways adaptation. So it's like teen drama, school. I mean, Starfleet Academy. It's probably it's like a college show almost set in the Starfleet. Starfleet world.
It's probably going to be like Krypton.
I don't know. I'm not watching Krypton. Are you?
I haven't decided whether I want to watch it yet, because the one that I did get a chance to watch, which I don't even recall what the fuck it was about at this point, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I like these guys, right? But they're all. I mean, there's the older people in Krypton, but the main core of them, if one of them was like, hey, I'm 30. I'd think you're a fucking liar. No, you're not. You're 22 max. You can tell they're all babies,
right?
I'll watch.
Okay, number one, I'll watch anything that Star Trek is on television, especially now. But the places they could go with just a Starfleet one, because we've seen snippets of Starfleet in the movies, we've seen it in The Next Generation and some of the other places, just as, you get flashbacks to when someone was in it, or someone who's younger, you get they can use the same actor pretty much.
Hope it's like Starship Troopers.
God, yeah.
Well, I mean, where it's like that, because most of Starship Troopers is
the
training piece,
right.
I hope it's like that, where it's they're like, hey, we joined the crew, and you get to basically watch them go to 4 years of a military college, right? And you're like, yeah, dude. Oh, you wanted to go fly a spaceship? Welcome to the shit. All right, cool, let's do it.
Right. Like Solo was. It's oh, you want to fly, and now you're just a grunt. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's see the other ones he has in the plot. Now, of course, none of this stuff is really. This is all still. Consider it rumors, but I would say that with the first one, with it being as detailed as it is, I'm guessing that one's probably a go, the Starfleet one. So there's a limited series with a currently confidential plot. So limited series, we're talking mini series type thing. I'll guarantee you it's a TNG, not a reboot, but it's the Next Generation cast or a few of them, because they've already had other articles online saying Patrick Stewart's already on board for coming back as Picard. That will.
Well, I mean,
and
that's because he hasn't aged in 50 fucking years.
Right, the guy that's the same as he did 30, 40 years ago. Yeah, exactly. So if he's slated for it, he'll pull the rest of them that need to be there, and they'll have cameos, or they'll redo it like a Where Are They Now? Like give me a 10 episode overarch of like Where Are They Now? That's fine, I'll take it. Mm-hmm. There's 10 characters. You can do a character per episode. I'm fine.
Yeah.
There's a limited series based around the character of Khan from Star Trek, the original series episode, and The Wrath of Khan, so Star Trek 2. So that's great. I wonder, so now we're at the same thing we were with a few other things, like for instance, the Star Trek Into Darkness had Cumberbatch playing Khan, but it'll be recasting him again more than likely, because you're not getting him for this you're probably not getting Cumberbatch to do this.
I don't know, man. If it's like
and they also shit really, really hard on that movie, so they're like, okay, maybe we'll just forget that happened. It's Kelvin timeline. We'll just go back to the Alpha one, and he can be the normal barrel-chested.
I was gonna say though, if it's a mini series, like that is probably the closest way you're gonna catch,
since he does Sherlock,
those guys and stuff like that. Yeah. Like anybody who was in the movies for it, like a mini series, they'll go, ain't doing shit. That's a paycheck. Yeah, well, like, all right. But if you're like, hey, man, 7 years TV show, they'll be like, no. I'm going to go make 20 mil a movie.
Right. I'm Doctor Strange, bitches. Yeah. I am not Khan. Like, okay, we'll just recast him. Have a nice day. Nice to see you, Mr. Cumberbatch. And then an animated, let's see. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. How's there only 4 on my list? Oh, well, there's only 4 on my list. I don't know how there's a 5th one. An animated series with another currently confidential plot. So animated series, who knows? It could be geared towards, if it's more than likely CG, the computer style animation. So it could be geared towards kids. It could be geared.
I bet you it'll be like the Star Wars with the Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars,
where it'll be an animated series that explains other storylines and in gaps and stuff. Which if it is, I'll fucking hate, because I hate the goddamn clone. Like everybody rants and raves about how awesome that animated series is, and it's good. Like I've watched parts of it.
It's not for kids, but it's not only for kids.
It's good. But I hate the fact that that's how they decided to open the universe, right?
In cartoon format.
Yeah, and then they're intertwining it in with the movies now and stuff like that. And I'm like, nah, man. If you go do an animated show, it needs to be its own independent fucking thing.
Not canon.
It does not need to be anything that continues the universe or moves characters along through the years, because that's how you get the whole Darth Maul thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm and that pisses me off the no fucking end.
And I see what you're saying, because you're losing half of your audience who doesn't watch cartoons. And I use that, I'm not watching cartoons. I haven't watched all the Clone Wars. I tried to, but it's still a cartoon.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go search it out. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Especially when it's a cartoon that comes on at 4:30 in the afternoon on XD,
even if it's all over
shit.
Netflix, I'm not gonna go want to watch tonight, Jessica Jones or cartoon. I'm gonna watch Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
So you're losing half your audience, which Star Wars realized, because when they did the big Darth Maul reveal, half of the standard fans, not your deep fans who've watched everything possible, were like, but he's dead. How he's dead. Mm-hmm. Last time I saw him was episode 1. It was an awesome fight, double lightsaber, and then he fell down a pit in half. How is he here? I don't get it. And then it's it wasn't the So that being said, and bring up the prequels and bombs on the Star Wars side, I think this is probably the smartest move Star Trek has done in a long time, because sadly, Star Wars is stumbling right now. There's stuff they're putting out while it's making $1 billion each movie. Yeah. Some of them, not all of them, Solo's not. And no one's really happy. There may be a portion of the fan base who's like, I like both, but I like Star Wars better. Right now, they're really, really fucking mad. And Discovery wasn't a bomb like people thought it was. And they'd be like, maybe I'll go check out this stuff. And and especially since Star Wars is wrapping up their trilogy, because when the 9th movie comes out, they're going to have other ones that come out, but the main 9 are done. Mm. So go Star Trek, jump back in, be relevant for the years did Star Wars. That's when Star Trek was big, TNG, it's because there wasn't a new movie. They came in 87, and it left right before the prequel started.
Yeah.
Like that would they owned the fucking syndication, man. They owned it. They were all about it. So
yeah, I mean, and like if they do an animated thing, like that was the other thing that like I didn't like about Clone Wars. It was goofy animation. Like I didn't like the way the characters they look like the Disney Infinity characters, like the little molds. Like if you're gonna do an animated thing,
look
draw
realistic.
them like Archer or like
if you're gonna CG
make it an adult cartoon,
right? If you're gonna CG it with real people. Like they can still be animated, just don't make the skinny bodies with the skinny arms and a little slightly larger head that looks childish. Don't make it look childish. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm with you. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. That shit's just being chatted about, so there's no way it's anywhere near anything.
Yeah, I was reading a bunch of shit on Twitter today, man, and like I was reading people that are like, I got 2 comics coming out at one time. Like I just got a show like greenlit through blah blah blah, and I'm like clicking on these guys. You know, they got a little verified symbol by them, and I'm like trying to see what they do. And there's a couple of guys that like got some shit going, and I'm like, where did you come from? Like, did you just walk in one day and you're like, yo, man, I got this idea because, like, I've, like, looked you up, man. There is, like, not a fucking history thing about you, like, anywhere. And I'm sitting there going, I feel like I got cool ideas. Like, somebody want to talk to me, man? Like, I got some cool stuff going on in my brain.
You live on the wrong side of the U.S., man.
I do, seriously, man. I do.
You got to go out to California. You got to be a waiter because everybody in a waiter is about to be an actor or a screenwriter. And then you're like, I got a script. You want to read it?
Yeah, see, I would just like move to like Washington State or something like that. I feel like I would want it a little further north and like just go visit California every once in a while. Like, yeah. I don't think I would want to live in California. But then my buddy sent me a thing today when I was talking about going to Canada, and he was like, just move to Washington State, no income tax, weed's like legal, and he's like, great IT jobs. And I was like, that's not a bad idea, man. Not a bad idea at all. Like, shit, damn children.
Like, let's get him out of school, then I'll go there.
Yeah, I was like, see you in 11 years, man.
yeah, right. So, all right. Any other things going on in the entertainment world we need to talk about before we get into this episode?
Nothing that I saw that was kind of like, I mean, I would say newsworthy.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, before we jump into episode 9, so this coming Sunday is episode 10, the finale of season 2. Right now on Twitter, we have a poll up. Also, tomorrow night, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom? Jurassic World 2.
I saw a great tweet today.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask you this.
Okay.
Can you tell me the name of Chris Pratt's character from Jurassic Park?
Chris Pratt.
Yes.
Is that not it?
No. I saw that tweet and I died laughing because like the first 50 responses are like, isn't it just Chris Pratt? Like,
I just imagine Chris Pratt there.
Yeah, it's right. I was like, dude, that is so perfect, man. Like his casting name, Chris Pratt.
Right.
You're either Star-Lord or Chris Pratt, dude. Like you don't need to be anything else.
He doesn't have his cool gun, so he's just Chris Pratt.
Yeah, well, I feel like he'll probably end up being one of those actors now that like he just plays his name. Like every character he's in, it'll be like Chris Thompson, Chris whatever, you know, like. Yeah. But he'll always just play who you know.
he's. We've talked about this before in the podcast that you have these characters. We talked about it with Khaleesi from Solo. She plays that character in a lot of the stuff she's in. She plays someone who's grown up a little bit hard, and now she's got a little bit of something, has a little bit of arrogance about her. She just plays that arrogant style character.
Yeah, I
mean, with a dark backstory really well.
Like, I mean, I'm trying to like think about like actors now. You know, I mean, you got dudes like Daniel Day-Lewis, or crazy character actors.
Yeah, method actors.
Yeah, method actors. And it's like, you guys are cool because you take on like really
Gary Oldman, same
distinctive, like unique people. But then there's just actors who just get called something else. They're really just themselves doing the fucking movie. Like, there's no effort going into, like, they're like, I'm not even changing my voice. I'm not changing the way I walk. Don't dye my fucking hair, man. Like, I'm Corey. I'm walking on. They can call me James, but I'm doing my thing. Like, you know, no big deal. And I want to be one of those actors.
Yeah. It can't be that. It can't be.
Like, I just want to run into Seth Rogen and just be like, I love your laugh. And you seem to be highly lackadaisical but motivated, and I need you to teach me that, because like I teeter one way or the other, man. Like I need to find your happy medium.
Teach me the ways.
But then like, and that's like, I was thinking about this, right? Like we run the rat race. Mm-hmm. Like we do the 9 to 5 shit and fucking 10 to 2 a.m. whatever. Like if it needs to be done. But like I know filthy rich people work hard. Like there's very few filthy rich people that are just filthy rich, like right. Like you don't really hear about oil tycoons that take over shit, you know, that like inherited or whatever, right? But they always get these breaks. Like you'll see an actor or something, and like they'll have like 4 movies come out, and that'll carry them for like 2.5 years. And they're like, all right, dude, I just go tour, then I hang out for like 6 months, and maybe go fucking run some celebrity endorsements or do whatever. And like they get these breaks, and I'm like, well, no fucking wonder, man. Like no wonder you can come up with this really cool shit, because not some jackass is not just sitting down your shit all the fucking time going, I need it now. Like I need it now.
Right.
You know? And they're, well, of course, and they also all make enough money to go, I get it to you when I get it to you. Like,
right. You want me to not do that?
Yeah.
This is how you not
so
get me to
you
do
don't
that.
want you don't want to make $100 million off this film because I'm 2 days late? Oh, okay. That's cool, man. No problem.
Oh man. Yeah. It's definitely about who you know and where you are and who gets breaks. And it's you know, it's very little about what you know. It's about who you know and what happens to you.
Like, I'm a people person, man, dude. I could fucking work my way, like, just slime my way right up that shit, man.
That's how I consider a lot of them do it, is get in the right track and ride it up as fast as you can. Mm-hmm. Because you ride high enough, you're just making decisions and not doing anything. I know it sounds bad, but it's really what it is. You
know, that's what I'm thinking about, like, because I've looked at, like, how to write a movie script, and I've, like, seen shit that, like, you know, people like Tarantino have, like, put out and stuff.
There's books, I mean, there's a couple books that I keep seeing them reference on, like, Cinefix and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, how to write a movie script, you know? And I sit there and I've read a couple of them, and I'm going, so you just kind of show this shit to the actors, and you're like, all right, man, you've just been beat up. You're angry. I need you to guys make that happen. Like, there's no words. There's no nothing. It's just like, they're like, we just need to film this scene, and whatever you guys say in character is what we're going to run with. And I'm like, I need to figure out who I need to talk to do this shit. and then like, we have other writers that we follow through podcast or Twitter, and like, and I've seen some of them like, dude, I fucking dropped out like 17 pages worth of shit today on some other things, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. No, that's too much. Right, like, I can't write like that.
Yeah, book writing is a lot different than script writing to a certain extent, I would think. I don't know, but it's the only thing I know anywhere, I think I mentioned it before, is I think it's a page a minute. So when you have a script, you want it to be in that, 120 page thing, because anything longer than that, that's too long. Like, it's going to be too long by the time you get done filming it or whatever. So
yeah.
No one's going to watch anything over 2 hours. Speaking of over 2 hours, just because I'm on a kick, I watched Barry Lyndon today, Stanley Kubrick's movie. It was 3 hours and 5 minutes long. And it was intriguing, but I was like, whoo, man, I have not watched a 3-hour movie. Like, this movie's got an intermission. Like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's fucking
I'm not sure Hateful Eight was 3 hours long. I know it had an intermission, but...
Did Hateful Eight have an intermission?
It did have an intermission. We were there. We went to
see I know that, but I just don't remember the intermission.
I remember going, yes, I can go piss. This is perfect. So, yeah. So, Westworld.
Yeah, all right. Back to the show you guys actually fucking came here for.
You're here from Westworld 25 minutes into it. Thanks for hanging on. They're like, these guys are never going to get to it.
They're like, I don't know why I listen to this shit, because they always talk about something else for another fucking hour.
It happens. We haven't seen each other all week. It's been a busy week. So, episode 9, next week is the finale. Whether or not, depending on the Twitter poll, is where we got off on the tangent. It was a Twitter poll. Whoever, vote how you want, because you're going to get Jurassic World 2 either 1 week, and you're going to get episode 10's recap and review 1 week. We just don't know which order we're releasing it in. So, go on Twitter, @2dadsreview, and vote. It's pinned to the top of the page. Vote what you want to come out next week, and you will hopefully get that. So, yeah. Anyways, episode 9, Vanishing Point. So, in paintings and drawings, you know what a vanishing point is, right?
I feel like I should, because I was an art major.
Yeah. So when you're drawing something in the distance, like you're drawing a road, and it's where in a painting, all the lines that are in the painting are all aiming towards one point.
Okay, yeah.
It's that convergence point. And it's a pretty good title for this episode because a lot of the lines we're following, they are getting real close, if not converging as this happens. So, and we see a lot of stuff this episode that we've already seen before, or we know. I do kind of like the way they're doing this because we see certain things that we know the outcome because we know what happened later on in the future, which is kind of cool. So we'll get to that here in a minute. So we start out, the Man in Black he's doing like a voiceover. We're having some flashbacks to clips that we've seen before, the night of his wife's suicide, and other clips that we don't know what they mean yet, like the water dripping off the bulb of glass. Like, we're like, okay, I haven't seen that yet. Like, what's going on? Oh, you're putting the gun to your head. What's going on there? Like, stuff we hadn't seen yet. So we're like, okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be interesting. So they start out, we are before season 1. It's before his wife's suicide because she's there. We get to meet her. They're at a party, some gathering of some sort, a lot of hoity-toity rich people. And the Man in Black is correcting some other rich guy on a misquotation of Plutarch. They were talking about Alexander the Great weeping when he learned that there was an infinite number of worlds and he had yet to conquer one. And the Man in Black was correcting him on that statement. And here during this scene, we even see like the class separation he has to deal with because he didn't come from money like everybody else in that room. So
yeah, because the guy even makes like, I grew up a rich kid. I didn't read.
I didn't read that shit.
You know,
somebody did that shit for me.
Yeah. Somebody did it for me, and my daddy just gave me money.
Yeah, and then his wife comes up. The Man in Black's wife comes up and saves him from the conversation by quoting some other Plutarch and saying, "This is from a rich kid that read."
Yeah.
So my only issue with her, and I can't tell if she's putting on, I think she's just putting on this face for the party. Because she's really, like, nice and caring, and she saves him on purpose because she knows he doesn't do well in social situations. And she switches gears so quickly. I don't know if it's because she's drunk and now we're looking at drunk her.
Yeah,
like, is this how it happens all the time when she wakes up?
Yeah, I think this was kind of like one of those, you don't really get to see the time pass, but you assume already that they've been there for a little bit. So like when he kind of did the head nod to kind of call her over, you know, after they made eye contact, she's probably already like 5 or 6 deep, which she's just at that point of like, I feel great and I'm coherent. And then later you get to watch that fucking cliff.
Right.
Like where it's like,
down to belligerent.
Oh, mom's now at 10. Mom's fucking shitty, you know, like couldn't maintain that happy medium.
Yeah. I guess what bothered me was that even when Grace, or Emily, I'm going to call her Grace because we've called her Grace from the beginning, even though we know her name is Emily. She's still Grace on IMDb, so I'm calling her Grace. I'm not getting this mixed up. But even when Grace comes over, she is genuinely like happy and caring and loving towards her father. And all of this changes in this night. Like by the end of this night, that's where all of her deep-seated issues with him. I realize that it's the night of her mother's death, but like, it almost seems like there wasn't enough. I know that sounds weird. There wasn't enough to happen in this one day to turn her so against him. Like, to turn her completely
Well, I wonder if
against
she
him.
saw the card that her mom...
She does, and she mentions it later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's what it... Maybe you're right, because the passage... But we're still not that far from him coming to the park in season 1. So there had to be... I don't know. I feel like there's a time thing with how she gets to that. Now, seeing that card and seeing how nuts he goes in the park, like, just completely flipped the switch. But they were on the same page for all of this past stuff we watched. Like, her and him were like, they were the team against her. And I can't believe the one thing her mother says to her at the very end, like, got her head turned so much that the card would be that big of a thing because it's still a video game. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, I just got done watching Ready Player One today for some reason. Again, I don't know. So I don't know. We'll get to that because anyway. So even to the point where the wife mentions that he did a lot for their daughter's charity. So tonight I believe it's a charity ball, like a charity party for like some of the charities that his daughter runs.
Probably.
So and for all we know, they're like putting on this face for the party. The wife may be for sure, because I think at some point there was like a little bit of like a fuck you kind of like, you know, it's all about you anyways, right? That's how you like it. And like she walked away and she was still smiling. Like, okay, so that was like now you're turning, like you're falling off the cliff, like it's happening.
Yeah.
And then as she walks away, the Man in Black sees Dolores and the waitstaff, and then like it flashes and it's not really her. So he's seeing it. He's seeing the park everywhere anyways. He's on his way to his own neuroses as it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after that scene, we move to a week before the present. This is after Grace took the Man in Black from the Ghost Nation. All right. So last episode with Akecha. You're so lucky you weren't on this last episode, because that's not even how you say his name, but it's what I went with.
Yeah.
Because I don't. There's a T and a CH and some other shit in there, and they may be flipped when I say it, but I don't care. But she shows up to the Ghost Nation camp and says, I'm here for him. Why'd you keep him alive? They're like, we want him to suffer. She goes, I want him to suffer more. Give him to me. Mm-hmm. So this is right after she took him. He wakes up. He's waking up. What we just saw was him dreaming. It's a dream there. His flashback, it's a dream. Grace is giving him fluids of some sort from a red bottle. And what we find out is the red bottle is from it reminded me of like every video game ever. It's like a loot crate, and it's all a med kit loot crate where there's like 10 bottles. It could just be water, but because there is a future, I'm sure it's like some sort of like crazy healing water.
Yeah, I mean, like the stuff that they've like done where he's like busted open the wall and did that weird like foamy thing, stitches,
the cool gun thing.
Yeah, and then those pads, like, and they got the magic spray in soccer. Like, have you seen that? Like, dude, I don't know what it is, man, but like every announcer goes, "Oh man, you better get that magic spray." And like these guys will go down on the field, and it's like this cool spray, and it just either numbs everything or it like causes instant relaxation. Because I know they do it a lot when like guys like pull up for something, or whatever. And I'm going, dude, this park's got to be like chock full of that shit. Like, because these guys, or the bullets really aren't that damaging. Like, they'll hurt, right? You know what I'm saying? But
because this guy's been shot like 5 times.
Yeah, so like I don't know what they're shooting them with. Like, it's a dissolvable rubber pellet. Like, it's gonna go in you and cause you to bleed like fucking crazy, but it's not gonna kill you, unless we put a whole bunch in you. But yeah, he should be dead. Just flat out dead.
Right. And something I didn't mention that I have to mention that happened at the very end of his dream in the party is that he grabs his inner upper forearm of his right arm, like in pain, like he's like feeling like, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. The only reason I have to bring that up is because it's fucking really important later on in the episode. So I want to make sure I brought that up. He's noticeably feeling for something or feeling something, like whether it's pain or discomfort or something in that upper inner forearm on his right hand, just right arm, so just so we know that. So yeah,
it makes you go, God damn it, is he a fucking host?
Well, and that's what this whole episode is him pondering that he hardly believes anybody's real anymore, and he's starting to question whether or not he is. Mm-hmm. So when we get to that later on with the knife at the very end, yeah, right. So he asked Grace. He asked her when he said did you set a flare off? She said, yeah. He's like, how long? She said 10 minutes ago. So he knows the park so well. He knows how much time he's got theoretically before folks get to them.
Yeah. So he even made the comment of like, how'd you find me? You can be in here for months and not find someone you're looking for.
Right. And
which makes his, in his mind goes, she's a host. Mm-hmm. No other way. Ford's got her hunting me down.
Right. She knows exactly where I'm going to be at, mm-hmm. and he doesn't believe. And, they both discuss each of their reasons for being at the park. They talk about avoiding the pain of what's happened, punishing himself. Like, she feels guilty. She blames herself as well for it. She tells the jewelry box story that she got a jewelry box for like her something-teenth birthday from her mom, and it was engraved like "My Beautiful Dancer," and she remembers throwing it away because she was so pissed. Their mom was so drunk she didn't know she hadn't danced for like 6 years or something. Yeah. So that only tell that part of the story because it comes in later on as well. But so next scene, same time frame. Dolores and her party. So last time we saw Dolores and her group, they were leaving the mesa after the attack. They're like, hey, we gotta get some horses and get out of here. So Dolores and her party got their horses. They're riding out somewhere. They come across the Ghost Nation, led by the tall, lanky dude that he had Acacia scalp him last week in the flashbacks for some reason. He was the one that, like, when he was shown the map, he, like, knelt down and then he started cutting across his forehead, which is scalping it. He's saying, and you need to hide it from everybody or something. I forget what he said, but
yeah,
it's that tall, lanky
dude. Yeah, because it was the one that found himself again.
Right.
Or whatever, like, understood what everything
he had
is.
been. Yeah. And so he's the one running it right now. Where Acacia is, I don't know in the plot line where he was in the real world or in this timeline, not in a flashback. So, but it's being led by the lanky guy. He calls her the Deathbringer and says that they've been watching her and that, sorry, your journey ends here. He continues he also continues and tells her, the Valley Beyond is not for you. So they're not letting her through. The way they're awakening to the Valley Beyond and everything is not the same way everybody else is. In fact, everybody else, I like how everybody's awakening happens differently. Some of them decide to stay in their narrative. Dolores is always, like we've talked about, Maeve is like a god. Like, she's beyond her narrative. She's not a host at a hooker house, and she's not a plains mom of the daughter. She's more than all of that. Dolores, with her 2 loads in her being Wyatt and her Dolores load, she still has that, 19th century mentality going on. She's still just a farm girl who's on this mission. She's not, and she knows there's things out there that are different than she's ever seen before, but it's not like she's really getting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's like...
And the Ghost Nation's taking it to, a religious, their folklore type area. They have this, they know it's for them. Acacia's been told by Ford to wait. You'll know when to take your people through the door. That's almost like, burning bush type shit.
Yeah.
Like being talked to by God. You're being talked to by the creator. He's telling you wait. When you'll know when it's time to go through the door.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if Dolores is just I don't know, Terminator's not the proper sense, but I wonder if she is just got this, she doesn't think anything can fuck with her, right? Like, she knows, if I get shot or I get, but as far as she's concerned, she's like, they're sacks of flesh.
She's definitely not worried about bringing anybody else with her except getting her ass out of there.
Yeah.
And by any means necessary, putting as much cannon fodder in between her and whoever's trying to harm her.
Mm-hmm.
So she makes it.
Yeah.
Her goal has never been anybody else but herself.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you on that one. She'd care. I think she thought that too until the end of this episode, that she didn't really care for anybody. I mean, we know she loves Teddy or whatever, but you didn't really see it for most of this season, especially when she changed him. But she was too busy with her path to think about her built-in thoughts for him. But then at the very end, we'll get there. But whew, way to go, way to go, man! That was a great job acting on that one. So the Ghost Nation tells her, you've gone as far as you're going. We're not going to let you go, and she disagrees, and she sicks Teddy on them, and it's a gun versus knife arrow battle, which goes about as well as you would think that would go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised the Ghost Nation actually took out as many people as they did.
All of her horde is gone. At the end of this battle, there's one Ghost Nation guy left who's actually spared, and only her and Teddy. So all of her horde, everything she's amassed.
She spared him? I thought she shot him in the face.
No, that was the guy. Okay, so here, I'll get there. So, number one, Teddy's a fucking boss from a horse with a rifle. That shit's hard. He doesn't miss a shot on a full galloping horse after all these people. I like that. I had to put that in because that shit's got to be hard to do. He's chasing one last one down, and she shoots him. She shoots the Ghost Nation guy he was chasing down, and then we get the scene that we saw in episode 1, but from the other perspective, when they cut that guy's head open and put the core on the machine, and they watched her. They watched her through his last seconds of his consciousness. That host, we see that here. And then she tells Teddy to go find the rest of them.
Oh, okay.
And he finds the tall, lanky guy, the leader, and he's heading off. And Teddy goes to shoot him and then hesitates. And you can see that he's fighting his
programming or
reprogramming.
Yeah.
Because they didn't wipe him, he still has his core, good guy, white hat protector, not just a cold-blooded murderer. And so he hesitates and spares him and lets him run off. So I'm sure that may come around later on.
Yeah.
You never know. So
I just assume anybody that's not dead is coming back.
True.
Especially if they've appeared more than once. Right? Like that dude.
If they're not shot in the face.
Yeah, like you saw him before. You saw him do stuff, never spoke, right? Until now. Like now he's talking but until they are beheaded, scalped, or blown the fuck up, like,
right.
I just assume that, nah, man, they're just ticking. Like they're coming back. They're coming back.
Right. Speaking of being back, so someone we saw go down in episode 7, we're at the Mesa now. Bernard sneaks in. He is last episode. He had
when are we going to see the bear attack in the
Okay,
Mesa?
so you missed this last week. So the Mesa attack. One of the guys in the horde was just a big bastard. And when he fell over, he just looked like the outline of a bear, like dead on. And I'm so fucking mad.
Oh, okay.
I ranted for a good few minutes about the fact that it was
because I remember watching that scene and I was like...
It's a bear.
I was like, when's the bear coming? Like, where's the bear? I was like, I'm fucking Sloth Bear. Where's the goddamn bear?
Excuse me, Clay promised me a bear. Yeah. No one's bringing a bear here. Yeah.
I was told there was a dead bear in there. Where's the bear attacking at?
Even in episode 7, when they finally sweep the room after all the battle has happened in the main control room, there's the outline. I was waiting to watch that guy fall. Like, whichever stunt actor, like, who fell and laid themselves to look like a bear, damn it. Like, who is the biggest guy there? Because
seriously.
I don't know. So there was no bear. I know, I'm sorry. I was really sad. We saw like a paused bear when Ford was talking to him. So we got a bear, just not true. It was a big bear too.
Most bears are big,
right? I mean, not all of them.
I mean, even like
probably small ones too.
Even like a black bear is still like 6 feet tall on its hind leg.
You
don't want to fuck with it.
No.
Like, speaking of animals and their ungodly strength, you seen that video of the, like, 4 muscle-bound guys, like, trying to pull that rope against the baby tiger?
Yep.
Like, I love your daily reminder that you're not a predator, right? Yeah.
How did we survive for so long?
Yeah, seriously, dude. It's sheer numbers.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Like, we're...
Pointy sticks.
Yeah. Sheer numbers, man. And enough people fucking willing to die for stuff.
Right. So... Same time frame, we're in the Mesa. We see Bernard sneak into the glass tech area where all the hosts get worked on and everything. And he's hidden away from Charlotte. And we know, this is one of the things I was talking about, we know he's going to make it away without her seeing him because when she sees him in the present day after he wakes up on the beach, she's surprised to see him. So we know that everything he's doing now, like, he's not going to get found out.
Yeah, because she was like, thought I lost you, or we lost you.
Yeah, way back when they had Abernathy. Yeah, so it was definitely, you're like, oh, cool, Bernard's like, and we, like, it's kind of cool to, because you're in the dark so much in this show, I'm like, ooh, I know that Bernard makes it from here. At least this scene, Bernard's fine. He's not going to do anything. I can't edit that out. It's fine.
I know, dude. I tried so hard.
Right. I was like, I don't know where to go to sneeze.
I was like, finish your sentence. I can't stop it. I was like, I'm trying to sneeze in the silent spot.
Oh, that's hilarious. Nope, they can all have it. You're welcome. You're welcome. So it's Charlotte in the lead tech, and she's talking to him, saying, "Okay, we need to test the thoroughness of this thing." And they've copied some of the anomalous code from Maeve, and they've transferred a single executable to this host. And the host is Clementine, which really sucks. So they're like, crank it up. So they turn Clementine on with the rogue code from Maeve and her, with the executable inside to run. And she walks up to the glass, and there's a whole nother room full of hosts. She puts her hand up against the glass, and they all wake up and start fucking tearing into each other. They're kicking knees the wrong way. They're whacking people with, like, bedpans like it's WWE, and biting carotid arteries off and stabbing people and snapping necks. And it's just, and they all kill each other, the entire thing. So Charlotte's like, and I love, like, the tech is watching it like, okay, it's working. Like, the technician's like, yeah, my programming works. And Charlotte's like, oh, that works.
Yeah.
She's like, for the first time, like, I've seen her, like, usually these kind of things she's kind of, like, all about, but she's a little bit uneasy with like the way that they're going to destroy like she knows this is it. Like it's all destroyed everything.
Yeah.
So she tells him to inform Stubbs to prep the teams and to load Clementine up. So she is now a weapon. Mm-hmm. They're just going to drive her into a pack of hosts who are going for them, and she's just going to set them all on each other. That's going to be wild. That'll be interesting to shot to see. Like if you like watch a buggy like drive through a crowd, and like the crowd suddenly goes from being mad at the buggy to like just fucking ripping into each other. Yeah, that's going to be sick. Whether we see it or not, I don't know, but it would be very cool. Charlotte also says that if this works, they won't need Maeve for much longer, which scares us because Maeve's still laying on that table. She lay on that table all episode. Poor, what a hard job. Here, just lay here, cry a little bit. You're fine.
Get all cut up.
Get your pay.
Pretend like your brain's talking to other things.
Right. So Bernard sneaks away, which we knew he would. He wants to head to Elsie, but Ford stops him and has one more task for him. So then we're back with the Man in Black and Grace. And this is where you actually mentioned earlier that he's suspicious about how she found him. Like, how do you can be here in this park for a month and not find the person you're looking for because it's so big. And she says maybe it's fate. She also asks him about his little project, and he at first thinks that she wants to shut it down. She goes, no, I want in on it. Like, I want in on your project. I know what you guys are doing here, and I want in on it.
Yeah, their whole immortality thing.
Mm-hmm. So then we jump back to his party, the party that we've been seeing in the past. And this is when Grace shows up, and we see that they, like I said earlier, they care about each other, and they look like they have a good relationship. Like, even if you were trying to put on a face for the crowd, you could still be saying shitty stuff up close to each other, but they seemed genuinely like father and daughter. You know what I mean? They didn't. She didn't seem like to be very. She wasn't making any side comments as the smile or anything.
No, I think she was. I mean, because she's made comments in the show when it's like present time her, you know, where she was always like, you were special. You know, like she says things like where like you can tell that she was. That's my dad. Right. I love my dad, you know, and then the mom's suicide. And from that moment on, with whatever info she got or however he started acting right after that, continuing his shit is when she was like, you're just, I'm not losing you. Right. Like she keeps trying to like bring him back.
Right. And I see that because we saw that a few episodes ago. Is she's like, you don't get to do this, you don't get to leave me like she did, but on the other hand, she has this weird like I'm not sure I don't know if it's the script or the actress or what. It's like pick a lane, like you're going from, and I realize that all this is fresh because this party has to happen weeks before we see him in season 1, which is literally, 3 weeks ago in a timeline from this portion of the timeline. Like, it's not that long. Yeah. So for her to switch gears, bury her mom, get super pissed, go after him, it just seems like I'm not sure if they know what lane to put her in.
Well, I think she's just probably got some information from her mom that we don't fully know all of it. And it was kind of like realizing your favorite superhero is a rapist. Right. Right. Like, it was like, that was my dad, and I had all of these built up child thoughts of him that have carried with me. And then all of a sudden, I now know the man like he is. Mm-hmm. And realizing that he's just a really good fucking faker. So I'm also kind of wondering, like, is she doing that whole run through every scenario you've ever had interaction with him, and she's starting to realize that, like, oh, he wasn't there. Like, yeah, he was there and he said the things and did, but that it was just a show, right? Like, he wanted to get back in the park. Mm-hmm. Like, so I think she has this kind of like scorned child, like, just flat out, nope, you lied to me my whole life. I now hate you.
See, it's all like, well, yeah, and I guess I just feel like it would need more than the few weeks that we have here. But maybe that's why she's so all over the place, because it's all so fresh. I'm gonna go with that because I don't know.
She's probably trying to process everything, and at the same time, she's wanting in on what he's doing, but she also wants to save him and be his daughter. Where but I think she's also understanding that it's either or. Like, I can be your daughter and be oblivious, and you'll see me when you see me kind of thing, but I'm also an adult now, so I know what you're fucking doing. It's not like I'm a little kid anymore. Or I can go be your partner. And I think she's like, I'm going to try to be his partner, and maybe I can get my dad back. And like, you know, she's trying to kind of wrangle him. And he's like, no, I'm just going to do what I do. You know?
Right. Yeah. He's off the deep end way more than we thought originally. Like, he's way off the deep end by the end of this movie, by the end of this episode. At the end of their conversation, Grace offers to keep an eye on her mom, and it gets him out of that big group. So the Man in Black heads to a little secluded bar, because they're like in a hotel lobby. You know, they're like in a hotel ballroom type thing. So there's like a little bar off to the side, and Ford's in there. Mm-hmm. And Ford congratulates him as well on his, you know, he tells him that
philanthropy suits you.
So this is where we knew the party. This is a party for the Man in Black giving money probably to the charities that his wife mentioned for his daughter. Like, it's, look at me giving all this money. Because I'm guessing that's what the party was.
Yeah, it was probably some kind of gala, charitable ball, or, you know, something like that.
Right. So during the Man in Black's conversation with Ford, they talk about an agreement that they have, and the agreement is that Delos stays out of the narratives, and Ford stays out of the valley. So we know that the valley beyond that everybody's aiming for is Delos only. Like, that's not an Arnold. But we know definitely not an Arnold thing, because they said that stuff didn't even start happening until after Arnold died, and it's not a Ford thing either. But the fact to make that like the underlying program that any of the hosts want to get to is just kind of like a fuck you to Delos. Like, whenever they go rogue, they're going for where they're not supposed to.
Yeah, that was. I know Ford's got some kind of grand plan, and you know Delos owns, so you know Ford's got to play the game, but. Like, how shitty is the trade out that, hey, you know the deal. I'm going to go do some secret back lab experiment shit, and I'm not going to fuck with your stories. Fair trade, right?
Right.
Like, damn, man, you must really like your stories to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. And then at this point, Ford slides the Man in Black this metal card, like business card. It looks like a credit card style thing. And he says,
be careful what you wish for. For a self-portrait, you may find it's not very flattering.
Because he had said that Ford accused the project of breaking the agreement and not Ford, because they were all like, no, you did it first, no, you broke the agreement. And we find out later why Ford thinks that they broke it, because because of all this immortality, live forever shit they were doing. They had to gather the data somehow.
Yeah.
And they gathered it from all the narratives that are happening. So during the conversation, the Man in Black's wife breaks she breaks the glass off in another room, like on a table, and they turn to look, and you can tell that she's fucking 3 sheets to the wind already. And the Man in Black downs his drink and says, okay, Robert, no more games, and walks off to go, you know, save his wife. And this is another thing where she's starting to get agitated, and he's looking like he's being truly caring for her. He does it later on in a minute as well. But so he escorts her out, like, to leave, takes her to the table, and like everybody, I like all the looks of the people at the table who are like, oh, thank God that drunk one's gone.
Yeah, I mean, well, you got to imagine though that she's probably been an alcoholic for years at this point.
Yeah, it was long enough for her to forget. I mean, her daughter was what? She said she hadn't danced for 6 or something years, and she was in her teens, so yeah, for probably 20, 30 years.
Yeah, you know, and like that's just the shit you get with an alcoholic, man. Like you get this weird, I'm sorry, but I have no filter on anything. So whatever the fuck comes rushing through my mind, where like she'll just instantly, like, he'll be like, all right, you know, honey, let's get you out of here, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, he's genuinely trying to take care of her, but she's also so drunk and so open-minded at this point. It's like, don't touch me. I remember everything. And by the way, I'm going to now regurgitate everything back to you.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I imagine that is how, like, there's probably hushed circles where they're like, okay, right, there she is, everybody. Just
everybody knows.
But she's married to that fucking guy,
right? And
I'm not saying shit,
right?
Like you know, so
2 hours into it, avoid the fuck out of her.
Yeah, right. Like it was one of those things where, yeah, your wife drinks a little too much, but I'm not gonna fucking tell her no. The man's too powerful,
right?
You know, and I think he generally, I don't know, probably hits a little too close to home for me now, but it's like, I think he loves her, but it's at a point of just, this is what I know. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like, I'm in love with you and I'm here to actually take care of you, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I loved you, but we've never progressed past that. Like, you know, and it's just almost out of duty at this point in time, because you're my wife. Like, I've
been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah, I'm you know, like, I understand I'm a piece of shit too and you fucking hate me, but we're stuck with each other. Like, that's what we got to do. You know, and I mean, he's going to do that, I think. And then, you know, he has his little heart-to-heart moment with her. But even then, it was like, I mean, she was supposed to be passed out, homie. Like, you could have said whatever you wanted, but he's like, no, I just realized it was me and who I am. Like, you know, like, he basically was just like, I know you hate the person I am in the park, but that's who I am. Like, that's what I am. Like, sorry. You know, I was just like, damn, dude.
And as he gets up to get her, Ford stands up and, like, straight up I would love to, like, actually, in real life, when you and I are out, like, having dinner or something, and you go to the bathroom, I'm going to stand up and go, you know, Corey, I'm going to talk to nobody. Because he stands up and he's like, he says,
no, William. I think perhaps one final game.
Who are you talking to?
I know, dude. I'm just gonna rip off a big bong hit one day and just walk out and be like, one more final game, Clay.
Right. And I'm at home. I'm 3 miles away. It's like, who heard that? No one heard that. Yeah, why are you talking out loud? Just put it over. I was living it. I love TV's hilarious. But yeah, so we know that while people don't believe the whole park is for him, the whole park is for him right now. Mm-hmm. Like his game, this is when the game starts. He knows he's going back to the park, and Ford's ready to fuck with him. So back at the Mesa in normal time, well, in the before the present time. So Bernard left his watching Clementine do her thing, and Ford took him, and where Ford wanted him to go was to Maeve. She's on the table. She's hooked all the machines. He attempts to gain access to the door he's in, to the room she's in, and it doesn't work. It denies him. And Ford tells him in his brain,
"That's close enough, Bernard. She will search your mind and find a message I have left her."
Mm-hmm. So you see her eyes flutter, and Bernard leaves, heads to the garage to find Elsie. Elsie's like, A, what took you so fucking long? B, what's wrong with you? And she wants to be filled in. Ford tells Bernard in his head, don't trust her. She's going to betray you. And this is one of the first times this episode that Bernard's like, no. And then he goes into he tells her everything. He tells Elsie, he explains the project, what they were doing to James Delos, that they're doing it to all the visitors. We learn that the vast area that's called the Valley Beyond is actually called the Forge, and it stores all the information on the hosts. So the Valley Beyond, the door, the Forge, it's all the same thing. So now we know that. So they head off in their little buggy. Back to the rally point. The Man in Black says that the Grace he knew wouldn't want in on the project. And this is already him saying, this is already him alluding to the fact that he thinks she's a host. He's, you know.
Yeah, and like, you know, it's so funny because he's like trying to insinuate that she's a host, but he's also talking about someone he doesn't know, right? It's like he's talking to his adult daughter as if he was talking to his innocent child. And she is like, look, we're a family with dirty hands. Mm-hmm. If we're going to do this, I want to do it with you because you're my dad. Like, she's still trying to do this, like, no, we can do a daddy-daughter team thing, like, even though it's corrupt, weird, fucked up, immoral shit. But you know what? I love you, Dad. Like, it's like her trying to bridge that gap, and he's like, no, She's too innocent. Like the daughter I know would never want any of this stuff. And it's also showing that it's like, yo, homie, like you don't know your daughter. Like you may think she's a host, but even the way you're talking to her shows that you don't understand anything about your daughter. Like you just don't know them.
You think so?
Yeah.
I didn't even read that deep into it. I just thought it was more like, he's like, no, I thought it was more just him alluding to her being a host.
No, but I mean, I think that is the general gist of it, but I'm just kind of like breaking it down from a dad-daughter point of view. And like, this reminds me of like an absentee father or like someone who had a serious addiction problem and was not there for like large chunks and is like, oh, why you used to love teddy bears and the color red. And it's like, dude, I'm 32, man. I like Guinness and I like weed and I like pussy and I like all this other adult shit, you know? And it's, you're not that kid anymore.
Right.
And so he still looks at that, his daughter with this innocence in them. And she's like, look, my mom committed suicide. I understood that you're like the most back alley of back alley people you don't want to fucking run into because you got a lot of power.
Right.
But unfortunately, I still love you. Like I'm an adult though, you know?
Right. And part of that, like she even says, you know, the data they gather is precious and it gives folks a second chance and it even can give mom a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
So is that your real reason? Like you want to bring your mom back, which I can, you know, that being that fresh, it could possibly be it. And then they go through this part is really fucking cool. So she questions him on how they would gather the internal process of their cognition. Because they know they gather the DNA and they gather the video and they have all of this external, most of it's external.
I was going to say there's a lot of internal going on.
A lot of internal collection going on as well. She goes, she says you'd have to image their mind throughout their stay. She's like, where's the scanner? And he tips his hat and says it was built in. And that's just, and I like how she snatches, like she grabs the hat off her head and she's like,
yeah,
Jesus. And he's like, you know, she while saying if you give mom a second chance a few minutes ago, she really wants to bring her mom back to ask her why she did it, why she killed herself. Not, I don't want you back in my life because you're still a piece of shit, but why did you do it?
I mean, I think that's like the most pressing question anyone has in a suicide, you know?
Yeah.
Is one, why'd you do it? And then two, why'd you do it to me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, give me your reason. And then I'm going to tell you how fucking wrong that reason is because of why you did it to me. Like, I feel bad for people who mentally get to the point where they want to end their own life. And it's terrible. It's a terrible fucking feeling. But in a comical kind of way, I would feel sorry for anyone that would be brought back from a suicide like this because it would just be the rest of your fucking life of why?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, no matter what answer you gave, it would never be good enough. Like, it's just, to the people that experienced it, right? Like, that, you would talk about a fucking hell, man. Like, that's a hell right there.
Right. Being put through the pain that you inevitably caused everyone else while ending yours.
Yeah. And then just having to live with the, like,
constant barrage.
Of I mean, and let's say, and I'm just going to go comical with this, but like, let's say you got over it. You know, you're like, all right, my mom committed suicide. We got her back as a host. Everything's functioning. She's going to live forever. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, fucking 3 years from now, you and mom get in an argument and you're like over orange juice and you're like, hey, yeah, remember that time you committed suicide? Like, you know, like that shit would always get thrown back in your fucking face.
Yeah. True.
You know, oh, would you like me to pour this juice out like I poured your life? Like, you know, like there would just be so many fucking insulting jokes that would happen back and forth.
I don't have a trump card for that. I can't.
Yeah, like, god damn, man.
That'd be rough.
Hoster. Now the more that I think about a host, dude, like, I hope I die before there's anything like this in the world. I mean, or at least that I know about that exists, right?
All right, so back at the party, right? We're back in another flashback since they're having their bring mom back conversation. And so they get home. So you're at the Man in Black's house, and it's him and his wife coming home, and she stumbles in the door, and he tries to, and this is where it's like he's genuinely trying to help her, like it's another night of her being like, I'll just go through the motions.
Yeah,
and she just switches to fucking bitch, like.
Yeah, man. But you gotta think like how many times he's probably fucked her over for the company.
Oh,
right?
I'm sure.
You know,
she mentions his yearly pilgrimage. She's like, apparently this must be an annual thing, his like gathering. And then she's like, and now it's time for your pilgrimage to the park. So he goes away for however long. Year on an annual basis. She says that in her rant to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes off and this is the part that it's not that it's confusing. I just feel like that they were out of order. Like we learn his secret, his internal secret later on in the episode, but she's like, she accuses him of being a virus and consuming her family from the inside out, but we haven't really, other than knowing that Logan went nuts and killed himself or died of an overdose long ago, and her dad, he died of some sort of cancer they didn't fund. So it's like it was his fault. He was just married to her and took over because no one else from your shitty family's left. Like, sorry, I'm married to your daughter. I run your company now. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't know if they're giving us his backstory now, but even at the end of this, her rant doesn't mean enough. Like we don't know enough for her rant to make complete sense, and I don't think they're going to go back to it next episode. Like it just seemed like there was this whole big rant she went on about him being a virus, and I don't think they gave us enough. I don't know enough of the backstory. We've seen him in the past, but
I think a lot of that is it's. I don't think you need the backstory, like because we know how the Men in Black is, like. All you have to do is just take that out, go plop it in the real world of him from this innocent guy that, you know, she thought was like, you're one of the good guys just working for the company kind of thing. And when, you know, she calls him out, like, she's like, you were just the only one that could fake it well.
Mm-hmm.
And so in her eyes, you were always a snake in the grass. You lured me in. You got my brother out of the way in the park after you found yourself, and then you basically became my dad's right-hand man with this promise of immortality.
Mm-hmm.
And would lose yourself in the park so bad that you, one, fell in love with the host that fucking ruined you. You go off on these trips for years at a time, maybe, you know, or at least gone for very substantial amounts of time, and she's just there, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's this weird, like, you watch how two different people handle things.
Right.
Like, she got into an addiction to drown out whatever problems they were. He went to another fucking reality, you know, and then their worlds have to collide every so often, and they have a daughter in the middle.
Right.
It's just, it's like, and her rant was a good rant for a rambling alcoholic. Like,
true.
Like, we got to remember.
I probably shouldn't read as much into it, even though I know it's very pertinent. We shouldn't read as much into it. Know where it's coming from.
Yeah, like this is basically like you were out. Your buddy just got dumped by his good girlfriend in college, and you're like, dude, I'm taking you to the bar. We're going out tonight. Like, we're just gonna forget about it, which is how she lives her life.
Mm-hmm.
And then your buddy coming back, and you're like, hey man, did you have a good night? And all of a sudden he's like, fucking Tina left me, man. And like, she cheated on me, and I don't understand all this other shit. Like, that's where she was, dude. She was just like, you know, and then you get the realization that this is a repetitive cycle. Like, this is, hey, we were maybe married for like 2 or 3 years, and then you just fucking went off in Delos and left me. Mm-hmm. And like, we just went 2 different fucking ways, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Grace interrupts them during her rant, and she's on her dad's side, and she tells her mom that it's time. They're gonna have to take her back. She's gonna have to go back, and what she's talking about is rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And saying this, like, it shifts her rant. She gets scared. Like her mom, like, starts freaking out.
Yeah,
like, you can't send me back there again. I won't do it. And the man in black goes to put her to bed, but before they head upstairs, like, she breaks away from him and she runs up to Grace, and she tells her, you know, she's something that she's like, I love you. Your dad doesn't love me. Your dad doesn't love you. And, like, it was just crazy, like, the way she was talking to her. And
well, it's
don't do this too. It's that last ditch effort.
Yeah, it's a last ditch effort, but it's also looking at someone that doesn't see the truth. Like, Grace doesn't know. It seems at this point really what Daddy does. Right? Where Mom is like, I tried to keep you from this. I didn't do a great job as, like, a mother, right? But I loved you to protect you. You know, it's that doing what is it? Trying to do the right thing with the wrong reasons, you know, or something like that. You know, and it's just the wrong way to do it. But you get to see this turmoil in this family that's just been churning and churning and churning, and, you know, and she still sees Dad as a guy that runs the company and would do his thing, and my mom just is an alcoholic because it's the forefront. Like, that's what she sees first. She doesn't see Dad he's raping and pillaging and trying to find whatever fucking secrets he's looking for in this. And because when he comes out, he's like, hey, I'm home. I run the company, you know, like, I go do my daughter's charities. Like, he probably went to her swim meets and shit like that. And when Daddy was gone, he was just going to work. Right. You know, and so that's just the way it's always been. And then now you're seeing everything go to shit. And Mom's like, nah, fuck that. Like, I'm not going back to rehab. I'm not living. I don't want to live in this life anymore. And I'm going to make sure you know the truth. And it's this weird, out, man. Like, you get stuck in this thought process of, like, if I'm not here, it opens everyone else's eyes up
to him.
Because if I'm dead, if I take my own life and I remove myself from the picture, there's no, oh, well, Mom's just having one of those days. Like, you know, it's odd.
There's no other spotlight, no other filter.
Yeah, it's all you're gonna now see is who he is. Right. You know?
It makes sense. So he puts her to bed. He takes his wife to bed. She asks the question we've heard all over the show, is this real? Are you real?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, oh, that's nice how they kind of threw that in there. She asked him while she's preparing to go to sleep, she asked him, I wish you would tell me just one true thing ever. So she's pretty much telling him that he's lied to her from day one. He's never told her, never been truthful with her about anything. He walks over, removes his coat, and he places the card that Ford gave him, the metal card, which is his profile, that we learn, into a book that's on one of the tables in their room. And then we pick up, he's gone back down.
I like that cool tablet thing, man.
What, the one you read it with?
Yeah, like that. She just, okay, first of all, I don't know what kind of glass, like Gorilla Glass they got on that thing, but she, like, had the little thing and put the little card on it, and boom, everything popped up. But then she was like, oh, here, let me open this fucking music box right on top of this glass. Like, and I just feel either you're so rich, like, you just don't care about shit like that, which is probably the case. Like, it's just whatever, man. I'll get another one, you know? I guess it's probably like what it feels like to be someone who's like a lead developer at Apple. Like, right. You just get iPads. You're like, dude, I got so many iPads. I give them out as fucking Christmas gifts, you know? But, like, that thing was fucking cool, man, because you just, like, put the little metal card on it, and that thing was like, hey, here's your daily info of all the fucked up shit this guy's done.
Right. There was an Apple product they demonstrated, Apple Table, or something weird that they demonstrated, like, 10 years ago, where you could, like, put down a card on this, like, it was like a desktop that was like a flat table, and you could put the card down or something that was like compatible with it and just lay it on the glass, and it would it would do a wireless transfer or whatever is on that item.
Oh, that's cool.
Phone and in fact it was called Apple Glass. I don't know what it was called, something, but it was kind of, I mean, the way he demoed it, like you put a camera down and all the pictures on the display like splashed out on the table like somebody just tossed a bunch of pictures on and it was very cool.
Dick pics for all.
Right. Oh, that's what you're taking pictures of. Yeah, and it was very cool. It's never been made other than that, and it may have even been just like patented to use it. I want to say the name they called it became something completely different in Apple or whoever it was. I want to say it was called Google Glass, but I think it was Apple doing it. I think it was Steve Jobs doing it. I don't know. Anyways, that's
I think Google Glass was that's the glasses.
Yeah, but I feel like whatever they called that table became something that was not a table at all.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It may have even been, I don't know. I did not do any research. I'm just pulling shit out the top of my head.
You're like, I work at IT, I'm going to make something up.
Right. You believe me, that's how I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so Man in Black, he's back downstairs having a drink with his daughter. She tells him that she's called the doctors and that they are going to place her on an involuntary hold. That way she can't check herself out when she goes in this time.
Yeah.
And as they're talking, we see the bulb, the glass bulb in the chandelier from his flashbacks earlier at the very first beginning of the episode, dripping water. It's dripping around the bar in front of him. And then we see the scene we've seen of him rushing up the stairs. Mm-hmm. And we see her in the bathtub finally with the bottle of pills next to her. So
and slit wrist.
No, the tub is red. The actual bathtub is just a red bathtub.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, if you're going to display a scene of her just having taken pills, don't put the wrist over the edge of the tub, which you see in every movie.
Like she didn't even need to be in the bathtub then.
Right,
Like, just leave her in the fucking bed. Because, like, let's face it, the only reason you take a hot bath when you're going to do that kind of shit is because you want the fucking blood flowing.
Right.
You want everything nice and kicking through there, like...
Right. Well, yes. And right. I'm just like, yeah, why put the arm in there? Because it confused people because all they saw earlier scenes was like the shot from like under, like below the tub looking up over the edge of the tub.
Yeah.
And like the tub is red. But if you look at it, we're like, oh, it's all blood. Like, oh, you know, because the water's coming out. So, yeah, it throws the eyes. And I'm not sure if it was even meant to confuse us, but it fucking did.
Right? Yeah. I mean, because I saw the bottle and I was like, I think... Cool. Like she just doubled up.
Yep.
She's like, hey, in case someone finds me before I bleed out, I'm going comatose. You're not fucking waking me up.
So out of the flashback, the Man in Black, they're back at the rally point. He stands up and he questions Grace. He's like, why are we going over this? Why are we talking about your mother's death? And she says she wants the truth. And he's like, fuck you. And then he starts talking to her as Ford. So now he's like, no, we've been going over all this shit because you're a host. Like, you've been sent here and you're here to make me talk about this stuff. Mm-hmm. By Ford. And she gets up in his shit. And she snatches him by the mouth and shit. She's like, I'm going to fucking destroy you. Yeah. And I was like, damn, girl. I was like, get it. Go on. Don't even get mad at it. I mean, just go. So she was threatening him. She blames him. She threatens to expose the project. She originally had blamed herself for her mother's death. He was even like, you made the call that night. He's like, it's not my fault. And then she saw the profile and she said, Mom left it for me. And at that point, he starts to say something and the buggies roll up. And so a QA team pops out, has them all raise their hands, and she announces herself as, you know, hey, I'm human and that's my dad. And like, I like the head QA guy was like, oh shit, that's the boss.
Yeah. That guy knew exactly who the fuck that was.
So they scan the back of his neck, and we've seen this scanner before. We've never seen the screen on it. So the screen on that scanner says C6 screen. So they're screening for C6. It says scanning for restraint ordnance. And then it shows clear on the back of the Man in Black's neck. Mm-hmm. They scan Grace as well, but we don't get the result. Now I want to go back to what that screen is telling us. So is the very top of your vertebrae, is that C6? Is that the vertebrae number? Is C the very top?
I don't know. Let's look that up.
Magic of podcast. Fast forward.
C6 is like the fifth one down.
Okay.
So it goes C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. I mean...
Yeah, so it's... So okay.
Because the middle of the spine So so C1 through C8 is the top.
So they're scanning the C6 vertebrae.
Yeah. Which holds apparently
restraint ordnance. So this is where I see episode 10 to next week's episode ending. So if you're talking the word ordnance, we're talking ammunition and or explosives.
Yeah.
So this is like a kill switch in these hosts. It's like, oh, you get to where I can't do anything anymore. This is going to, or you step past where you shouldn't be going past. This is going to blow your head off. Like, you're done. Like, game over. So that could be the worst part of all this, is that everything going on in this park, everybody wants to get out, and the minute you step outside that park, like, your head's going to get popped off. I mean, what else would a restraint ordnance, why wouldn't you call it something other than ordnance if it didn't have an explosive charge to it?
I don't know. I mean, I wonder if that's like, if they're using it in the way, like, if that would have popped up, they're like, okay, we need to, like...
Well, they're definitely checking if this restraint ordnance, scanning for restraint ordnance. So if it's not there, because it shows clear, that means you're human. So we know that the Man in Black is human, or he doesn't have this ordnance placed. Now, because Ford and Arnold, they have their hands in these hosts, it's possible there's certain hosts who don't have this place there.
All right, well,
I don't know.
So is it ordnance was the word, or was it like ordnance? Like, there's two. Okay, so
oh well.
So there's ordnance, like ORDN, yes, which is artillery.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Or there is ordnance, like ORDI, which is an order, like a decree. So, like, was this like saying, "Hey, we're gonna scan him"? Oh no, he's clear. And then when they scan, like, it came out, it's restraint ordinance. It's like, no, here's your order. Like, fucking restrain this guy because he's a host.
Yeah, it was ORD, because I googled ordnance to ensure, even as a former Marine or still Marine, but not anymore, not active.
Yeah,
I was like, this means blowing shit up, right? I was like, so I googled I paused the screen. It's ORDN. So we're talking explosives, not an order.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it means. All we know is that's how they're checking whether they're human or not. But they scan Grace, and just as the guy is getting ready to tell us what happens, he goes to look at it, and the Man in Black is talking to the head QA guy, like he's like, I'm not fucking doing this, Ford. And I love that, because he thinks all of this is a game, that he has this upper hand against other normal humans and, like, subdues people because they're not expecting him to be crazy. Mm-hmm. And so he just, like, turns the guy around, snatches his gun, and just blows everybody away.
Yeah.
Grace hits the deck, and then, like, she comes up and she's like, Dad, those are real people. Like, this, like, what have you done? Like, you've murdered real people now.
Mm-hmm.
After she says that, he's still talking to her like Ford, and she goes, look, no, here, I can show you. And she reaches behind her where he knows that she also has his gun sitting, so he thinks she's going for his gun because she had taken his gun off of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he shoots her in the chest, shoots her good. She goes down, like, he kills her, theoretically. Yep. I mean, maybe not.
Who's to say who's dead at this point?
If she's not because we don't know if she's a host or not at the end of all this. And he's still talking to Ford as she's lying on the ground, and he says he slipped up. He's like, I never told anyone about my profile. And he goes to cut her arm at the same place he was grabbing earlier.
Yep.
And sees that she has what she was grabbing for was the profile card. So she did have the card, however her mother gave it to her, she has the profile card.
Yeah.
So then we are at what I consider the best scene in the episode. This is back with Maeve in her in the tech room, laid out, flayed out, hooked to the machines. She's been left alone. Actually, the tech comes in and she starts to see Ford. Ford starts talking to her. So the program she downloaded, he starts talking to her. And it's kind of cool because he's not there. He's just there in her mind. So the tech gets to do that. Like, I get to ignore Anthony Hopkins for 5 minutes of conversation as I pretend to do things around here. And Ford starts out by saying,
mankind is poised midway between the gods and the beasts.
And he talks about how Maeve was his favorite. he's doting on her about how she learned so quickly, like as soon as, whenever she started her awakening, like how fast she learned what she could do. He said that her escape program, what we saw at the end of season 1 where she was supposed to get on the train and leave, he wrote her ability to leave the park. Mm-hmm. He's like, you can leave this park. If you get to this point, you are absolutely able to go. And she made the decision to stay and find her daughter. That was not like some subroutine saying, nah, don't leave the park.
Yeah.
That was her making a decision. And he also mentions that she's the closest thing he's had to a child, that the whole park is the closest thing he's had to children. These are all his children. And he says,
You stayed here in this world to save your child. So have I.
That's why he stayed in the park. Why his consciousness is in the park now. And then at the very end, he goes to he stands above her head and he says,
So much of your story left to tell. It's a shame to let them end it here. Don't let them.
Kisses her on the forehead. Like that whole, his whole scene with her is beautiful. Like it's Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins has done some great shit in his past, but he's not phoning this shit in.
Dude, the only reason Anthony Hopkins is a good actor is because of his voice. Dude, if you gave him a normal voice, he would just be a pompous asshole. But because of the way his voice sounds, you're like, yeah, you're wise, man. He's just really a dick. He's just a smug fuck in everything he's in, man.
True.
Even when he was Hannibal Lecter, dick.
Absolutely.
But he's got a cool voice. Anything you put him in, man, he always plays a fucking asshole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, he does it very well. Yeah. Very great voice. Yeah. So when he says that to her, he activates something in her, and the tablet she's plugged into starts cranking up, and her root. I think it said root code, or it's something about going back to the basics. It turned something on that was standard. And watching a behind the scenes thing that I clicked on today because I get the emails from Delos. I went to their Delos website and signed up for the emails and shit. One of the producers says that was him turning her mesh network back on.
Oh, okay.
So she is starting to talk to everybody again, which she was already doing it before. Maybe when they pulled that shit out of her to give to Clementine, they shut off her mesh network or who knows what.
Yeah, they probably because
she was talking through to her daughter. She was talking to Acacia last week. They were talking to each other across the park, not just in the same area. She was accessing him way away.
Yeah.
So at some point between now and then, they turned. Well, anyways, the producer said they turned her mesh network back on. So what they're really building to, and especially with Ford talking about her and her, being like his kid and her after her daughter. The other person that has been kind of a daughter figure to Maeve is Clementine. Mm-hmm. So you're literally going to have this next week is going to be a Jedi battle of Maeve versus her, the one person in the park that she cares about other than her daughter.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a fucking mind fight. With mind bullets! If you got that joke, I like you so much better.
Good on you, Tenacious D.
So yeah, so Maeve's ready to rock and roll. So at some point next week, she's getting out of there. So we are, okay, so last scene with Elsie and Bernard. They've got their buggy and they're just heading to the forge. They come across a random scene of a bunch of QA guys who are dead. They stop to let her loot the bodies for ammunition. While she scavenges, Bernard is watching her looking and his hands are empty. And then Ford appears like he has been to him and tells him that she's going to betray him. Bernard says he's not going to hurt her again. I won't do it. And then suddenly there's a Glock in his hand.
Yeah.
You just shared a Glock.
Well, I think that was where Ford was kind of going, you don't know it, but I still control you. You don't even know you don't even know you just picked that gun up. You got a whole bunch of David Fincher Fight Club shit going on right there, right?
Right. Bernard then begs for Ford to leave him alone, and Ford tells him, Tim Shell Bernard, which means thou mayest. He actually says thou mayest right afterwards in case nobody was going to Google it. And that is in reference to God telling Cain that he has the freedom to choose to overcome sin. With the Cain and Abel, the whole Cain and Abel fable stuff. That's where that phrase came from. Ford continued to telling Bernard, this isn't just about you. There's an origin of an entire species to consider. We need to open the door. So he's like, I know what your shit is, but we have an entire new species that is ready to emerge in this world.
Well, Ford's trying to tell Bernard, like, you can be...
You're the one who's going to open the door.
The chosen one. Right? Like,
everyone's waiting for you to open that door.
Yeah, like when you open that door to unleash everything into the world, and history writes this, you, Bernard, will be the one that was the king or the god of whatever. Like, you know, this revolution. And, you know, Bernard's like, homie, you gotta chill the fuck out with this mind conversation stuff, man. Like, Bernard looks like he needs a vacation so fucking bad, dude. Like, I just want to, like, you know, he woke up on that beach and he was probably like, why isn't there like a lawn chair and a mojito? Like, you know, this guy, he's just like, he's like, I get it, dude. I'm a host, but fuck, man. Like,
you've been through
let me enjoy something.
Right. I'd love to know how far Elsie went to go get stuff, because like he runs around like he screams like, you know, get out of my fucking head. Like when at the end of this part of the conversation, and then he runs to the buggy and he cuts into his arm at the same place everyone's been grabbing this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we see that in his arm, there's a port there for him to jack directly into a tablet, one of the tablets. He zip ties his other arm to the steering wheel to make sure he doesn't do anything bad with it, I guess. I don't, you know, doesn't want to do it. We know he's trying to keep himself from hurting Elsie.
Yeah, I think that was more like if Ford put a gun in my hand and I didn't know it.
Right.
So we got,
it's like idle hands.
There we go. I was like, God damn it. What is that? What's the other one? There's another hand movie, Rock the Cradle. Isn't that it where...
The Hand That Rocks the Cradle?
Yeah, isn't it where, like, the movie where the guy got, like, the surgery and the hand came from the serial killer? And like, the hand is like, leading him, like, to do shit?
That's Idle Hands, isn't it? With Seth,
but I think there's,
Seth
like...
Green?
But I think there's, like, a real movie where that was, like, the case. Like, it... Oh, God damn it.
There was... Okay, so there was The Eye with... what's her name? Where she had a killer's eye and was seeing all kinds of crazy stuff.
I think like Al Pacino was God damn it. Oh, fucking.
I know there's a movie called Hand That Rocks the Cradle, but I've never seen that one. Is that I don't know.
I think that's the movie. Like, nope. Hand That Rocks the Cradle, something different. Maybe it's just I am thinking Idle Hands. Doesn't matter. Not important.
We stopped searching.
Yeah.
So he starts deleting the Ford code, and then like. We get some genuinely like creepy scenes here, and once again, it's all Anthony Hopkins' voice. And Ford's in the back seat of the buggy as he's doing this. He goes, "I can feel you searching for me. No need, I'm right here." Like it's like, yeah, you're great. Like that sucks. So Bernard succeeds, and that's more like Bernard succeeds. Did you get all the code? He thinks he did. Ford has disappeared. Elsie comes back, and she comes back. So poor Elsie. Like, everything was fine. Bernard seemed cool. He's telling you everything. You guys drive off. You get out for 5 seconds. You come back, and he's cutting his arm. He's jacked into a tablet. He's just having himself to a steering wheel. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, what's wrong now? She's like, and then she starts getting, like, I feel bad for her because you can see her get scared. She goes like, oh, you're going to hurt me. Like, not she's like, oh, you are going to hurt me, aren't you? Like, and it was like, I was like, damn. And he goes, look. Here's a homing device, that little, like, hockey puck. He's like, here, take this. I have to go. You can't come with me. And she just looked at him and she's like,
fuck you, Bernard.
Fuck you, Bernard. And he's like, sorry, and drives off.
Yeah.
Closes the door and drives away.
Yeah, I mean...
So now she's just stranded, and which makes me... we're probably not going to... see her next episode, which sucks because I like all of Elsie's scenes. She's fun to watch. She lightens the mood a little bit, even though all of her shit's just as intense. She's fun to watch. So yeah, that sucks. So we're probably not going to see her at all next week.
I wonder if we'll just like ever see her again. You know what I'm saying? Like
she is real good at like going somewhere and then she's gone.
Yeah, right. Like
like last season.
Is this just one of those things where like Bernard leaves her and you know Elsie's
out there
ran her moments that she needed to be in the show, and they're like, all right, dude, like, we're not going to kill her, but she just kind of a fade to black now, right? Like,
yeah.
You know?
Sadly, maybe. I need her to get like badass or something. She needs to be the catalyst that like foils the whole plan because she's like, no one cares about me. Left me in the fucking woods.
I don't think the plan's gonna get foiled, man. Like if you want,
someone's gonna get out.
If you want to see, if you want a season 3, man.
Right.
Like,
well, I have a theory. We'll talk about it at the end. I don't have a theory. I saw a theory. I like the idea of the theory.
So I'm gonna make it mine.
I won't make it mine. I'll say I found it somewhere else, but I like seeing what else is out there. So now we're back with the Man in Black. He has ridden off from where he has murdered his daughter and his whole QA team. He dismounts. He flashes back to his times with Grace, like from that evening, like the good stuff. And he puts he puts that big ass gun to his head. And then you hear his wife saying, "Tell me one true thing," which she had said to bed earlier. And then all of a sudden he was down drinking, so he didn't see. Now we see what he said to her when he thought she was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So we're back sitting on the bed with his wife, and he starts playing with that section of his arm again. And he sits down on the bed, and thinking she's asleep, he starts to talk, and he says there was a stain inside of him, a darkness that is not from anything he did. It wasn't like he had created this darkness. Everything else was on top of the darkness that was actually him.
Yeah.
That was his true self. And he thought he was being a good person on the outside, but he was saying that you're the only one who's ever seen through that from very early on, if not right away. That I'm not a good person.
Mm-hmm. So
on top of all of this, deep down inside, I'm a piece of shit. And you've always known that, which is why we are where we're at right now.
Yep.
And he also says that he doesn't belong to her or this world. He belongs to a whole other world, which we talked about earlier. Like, he doesn't belong in the world they're in. He needs to be in Westworld.
Yeah.
Like, that's just where he needs to be. And he kisses her and leaves. And then, on the head and leaves. And she opens her eyes. She starts to cry a little bit. She gets up. She goes to the books because she wasn't sleeping. She saw him put the card there, pulls the card out. She goes and sits at her vanity, pulls out the cool tablet we talked about earlier, sees all the crazy shit he does. I paused the screen when they pulled up the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So he is subject number 02. 002. I wonder who subject 001 is. Whether it was like James Delos or if it was like Logan, or he's like the second person in the spreadsheet.
It's probably Delos.
It's one of those. Yeah. One of those guys. He is what they'd consider category 47B. With a red, like behind that white lettering is like a red background, like the fucking triangle with the exclamation point. Mm. It's a fucking this is a bad category to be in. The occurrence of that category is a 0.0072%, which is rare, of course. And he's got I know he's going to do this, persecutory subtype, delusions, and a paranoid subtype is what they all had listed on there as what he is. So they knew even from his profile he's a fucking psycho. Which goes back to Ford saying it doesn't paint a pretty picture, does it? It doesn't paint a pretty self-portrait of yourself, does it? And then she pulls out the music box that she must have gotten from the trash when her daughter threw it away at her birthday years ago and puts the card in it. So now we know how Grace gets the card to where she ended up.
Yeah.
Why she has the card. And so then we're back in the field, and he doesn't shoot himself. He can't bring himself to shoot himself. He drops his gun, sits down, rolls his sleeves up, pulls out a Bowie knife, and starts digging at his arm at that spot.
Yep.
Just sick. Am I even real? Am I real?
Yeah.
It's all any of this, so he's doubting everything. And we don't see the result of that dig. We just know that knife has gone in there.
Yeah.
And that's... if I'm going to cut my arm open, I'm not using a fucking Bowie knife, okay? A Bowie knife's a big fucking knife.
Yeah, right. Jesus, can you imagine, we've all cut an orange, right? And, you're like, hey, man, I'm going to just get the rind off and not try to cut into the orange. But, it's fucking hard. Can you imagine doing that on your own arm with a Bowie knife? And you're like, all right, dude, I only need, an eighth of this fucking tip of this massive knife that's super duper sharp to go right down this, couple layers of skin?
Mm-hmm.
You imagine, just a little too much pressure, it's just fucking right through your arm. All right.
Well.
Ah, damn.
All right, so now we get to the last scene of this episode, and it's Dolores and Teddy, and they're riding. It's only them, because the whole horde's dead. Everybody's dead. It's the last of them. There's a rundown farmhouse. They stop, dismount. Teddy kind of walks in the ruins of this house and leans up against the wall that's, the frame.
I'm admiring the view.
I'm taking in the natural splendor, and he comments on her. I wrote it down.
Yeah. I was like, damn, dude, I didn't look at the notes yet. And I was like, that's a good pull, man. That was a good one.
That's back to all their old talk. They talk that, all the time. And he's commenting on how much they've both changed. He tells her that he loves her still. They both kind of questioningly say they love each other. Like, are we supposed to love each other? Like, do we love each other? And he says, you're my cornerstone. And then this scene was awesome, especially if what happens here is it for it. Is you see the first time that Teddy's awoken. Like, the first time Arnold says, bring yourself online. This is the first time Teddy has ever woken up, day one, turning the thing on, hoping the processor works.
Yeah.
And as Arnold's having the conversation with him, all he sees is Dolores standing in a corner. Like, her and a couple other hosts who are together and naked. Like, they're not, like, need to be put together anymore.
Yeah.
Just they're shut down or idle, or they're just standing there because they've been told to. And he's just like, and he falls in love with her immediately. Whether it's already built into him for his code already or not, he remembers the first time he saw her, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. Love at first sight.
Yeah, exactly. Robot love at first sight.
Right, yeah. Program love at first sight.
He tells her he never wants to leave her side, which is why this is so hard. And he draws his gun, and we're like, oh, shit. What are you going to do, Teddy? You gonna stop her because you know she's crazy? He tells her...
You changed me. Made me into a monster.
And so this is where she, like, takes, like, a fighting stance. Like, you don't want to hurt... She does that, like, I'm going to put on my big girl talking, and you don't want to hurt me, Teddy.
Mm-hmm.
And he says...
No, I could never hurt you, Dolores. I'll protect you until the day I die. I'm sorry. I can't protect you anymore.
And then he shoots himself in the head.
Yep.
I mean, that in this world, that's putting yourself out. That's your mind marble is gone. And Dolores, I mean, this is the first time we've seen her falter in her her I'm a strong leader. Well, no, because she cried over her dad too, but like this, like she.
Yeah, but like her crying over her dad was more of like, I didn't get to him in time kind of thing. Like
I knew this was going to have to happen.
Yeah, like that was like, if I get my dad back, cool, but I also understand
why he has to.
Yeah, and like she knew that she needed Teddy and fucking amp Teddy up to super soldier. But I think she always thought that, like, once we're done, I get to make you Teddy again, and
right.
and we'll be our thing, and like Teddy was like, nope, not doing it.
Right. He saw the manipulation that she put him through, and I like this scene because they took out all of her sound. And they played only what I could compare to like the Annihilation music at the end of the movie. It's not even music. It's just more this like guttural whine that's just real, and it's real unsettling. And just watching, and then you watch her like lose it. Like she collapses next to him, and like she's just uncontrollable.
Well, this is where you're gonna get her blind rage from, though.
Yeah, she
was already on a mission because she was like, I've been killed. I've been raped. I've been whatever. Drugged behind a fucking horse because some dude decided to do it.
Right. She
never had any, like... I mean, she had misgivings about it.
Mm-hmm.
But she was also, like, that was life for everybody.
Right.
So... That was like, this is wrong. We shouldn't do this kind of rage. But the one person that she thought she was going to have forever fucking went and was like, you're on your own. And so when we see her next time, like, she's just probably going to be just
rage monster.
The worst fucking thing you've ever came across in your life.
Right, because in her mind, even though she caused everything to happen to Teddy, she did that. They made her do that. Not because it's her programming, but because it was a necessity in her mission.
Yeah. She's
not taking responsibility for shit.
Yeah, she was like, no, I was driven to this. I had to do this, and now it's gone so far that it was to the point that they, dude adds air quotes, made Teddy.
Yep.
Like she's like, you made me change him so much that this was the only outcome. And so now she's just like,
she has nothing.
I am going to scorch earth to get the fuck out of here. Right? Like, yeah. I mean, Teddy dying kind of sucks. I like Teddy, but it's like,
I like Cyclops. He's cool.
Yeah.
He's a good actor. James Marsden. Is that right? James?
Yeah.
He's great. And he's been fantastic in both seasons. I liked everything. And if this is his last, if this is where he goes out of this show, well done. It was his run of the show was great. I thought his character did everything it needed to, and it did it right.
Yeah, but I mean, I also like
you put some other actors of lesser quality in that role, and it won't have as much payoff.
No, but like James does a good job of
James. We call him Jim.
Yeah. Jimmy boy. When him and I are shooting the shit. But he does a good job without having to say a lot. Like, he's got one of those faces.
He emotes well.
Like, he's got one of those faces that's like, hey, man, we need you to look off in the distance like you're thinking about something. He's like, cool. And, like, does it, right? But then you were saying, like, you could put other people into that situation, and it's just not going to come out right.
Not going to have the impact it does.
And, like, his death, though, is necessity at this point. Like, because, she always made the comment, like, what was the comment she made before she changed Teddy? When she was like,
you're not meant for this world. You won't survive.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, now that he officially has not survived, that is her green light. Because he was the one thing, like, even though she changed him to be a murderous, rampaging thing for her protection, she was the one, like, he was the one thing that she had. Mm-hmm. Like, you're mine. You're my hostmate, soulmate, whatever you want to call it. Like, right? Now that he's gone, man, like, you're just stripping her down to the bare bones of hate. Like, hate is going to fuel everything she does.
Right. So now from episode 1 and through a few other episodes this season, we know he was in the lake. From episode 1 of this season, we know he ends up in the lake. We knew he was never going to make it. But I think I even made a comment a few episodes of ours back saying that we don't ever see, like, bullet wounds on him or, like, a hole in his head, but apparently there is, or somewhere between this end of this episode, maybe he wings maybe he doesn't, the core is only so big. Like, if he didn't, like, get it right at the core, you may not have gotten it. Because I don't remember seeing, like, when we saw him from both sides, I thought, like, if there would be a hole in the right side of his head, we'd have seen it.
Well, I mean, there should be, it really wouldn't matter what side we saw him on, because there would be a hole in his head somewhere. So it's not like it could be like, well, you didn't see it because his hair is dark and it blah, 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 and he has, like, Justin Bieber hair. But that still doesn't change the fact how he got in the water.
Well, right? Yeah, I mean, unless the water forms somewhere over where they're sitting at right now.
Yeah, unless she threw him on a fucking horse and was like, I'm carrying him so I can fix him, thing, and then I don't know what happens after that, because we'll find out next week. We'll find out next week. Because it all goes to shit.
Right, and you guys listening will find out next week or the week after what we think about it, because we're not sure whatever the poll says, whether it's Jurassic World this next week or the finale. We'll find out.
Yeah.
So yeah, go to Twitter, vote for Westworld, vote for Jurassic World. You're going to get them both. Just which one do you want first? So that's it for me. We've talked this episode into the ground.
Yeah,
there's a lot, action-y episodes is kind of easy to flow through them. There's only a little bit of action, a lot of talk. There's a lot of things to process in this episode. So
yeah, like I said, it was a good audiobook episode, man.
Like, I don't need to watch it. Just talk to me.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I put it on while I was doing some spreadsheet shit, and I quite honestly, like, I didn't look up a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like, there may have been a ruckus on the TV, and I was like, huh? Okay. Like, like, there was nothing there, like, even, like, visual cues. Like, there really wasn't. This was a legit, like, the day in the life of. Right? Like,
here's what you need to know. Yeah. We're going to lay it all out verbally, and then next week, there's going to be a whole. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of talking next week.
No. This is basically just HBO doing the Game of Thrones type build-up, where it's like, we gave you some shit at the beginning. We give you some action in the middle where you're like, oh shit, and we explain a bunch, and then all of a sudden we go, hey, here's the red wedding, fuck off. Like,
right.
you know, or whatever.
Except they're going to do it on episode 10 and just leave us wanting more. When Game of Thrones does it episode 9, they're like, okay, here's a nice 10 to relax you at the very end of everything. So yeah, that's it. Well, that's it for me. Check us out on social media, follow us, all that good stuff. Two Dads Review.
Yep.
We'll see you guys next week.
Later.